Welcome to Law Labs, where law firm life gets a glow up. I'm Billie Tarascio, founder of Modern Law, and every week we crack open what it really takes to run, grow, and scale a law firm inside the age of AI and innovation. This is where firm owners, legal rebels, and business minds come to swap ideas, share wins and messes, and rethink what's possible in the profession. If you're ready to lead smarter, scale faster, and build a firm that actually works for you and your clients, you're in the right place. Let's get to it. Hello, and welcome to the Modern Arizona Podcast Law Labs edition. Today, I am joined by Russell Alexander, a veteran, epic icon in the legal world out of Canada. Russell, welcome to the show.
Great to be with you today. When you say veteran, I start to feel kind of old.
No, that's not what I meant. But you've been around for a long time and been a pioneer in the space of just pushing law firms forward and growing your law firm aggressively. And you were one of the first people that I know that was using AI in your firm. So I think that you qualify as iconic.
Okay, well, I'll take it. Thank you.
So let's see. You and I were just chatting. I think that now I've been a lawyer for 20 years, and I think right now is the most exciting, fast-moving time that I've experienced in the last 20 years. What is your perspective on, your practice, your experience, your career, and what's happening now with the business of law?
Yeah, we really got quite a double whammy, Billy. We're swinging out of the pandemic, and a lot of lawyers I know pivoted to remote, and their staff want to stay remote, and they don't want to come back to the office, and they're coming back kicking and screaming. We're 98% remote right now. So that was a big pivot, and the legal profession pivoted from paper to digital. We had 200 years of paper, and now we're digital, which enables us a lot more freedom. And now we have this thing called AI. 2022, late 2022, we started seeing market improvements to the models. I'd looked at it, the previous year, somebody brought it to me and we played around with it. There's just too many mistakes, grammatical and contextual. It was more work to fix it up than it was worth playing around with it. But in around, I'd say November, December, I took some time off in December and really started playing around with it. At that time, it was probably, a second year law school grade work. Not perfect, but pretty good. A lot better than it was a year ago. And I did a survey on my blog, familyllb.com, and I did 30 days of AI. And I posted content purely generated by AI on legal topics and asked, is this helpful? 95% said it was helpful. 35% said it was really helpful. Wow. And then, I thought, there's something here. And I wrote a book on it, AI in the legal profession, and looked at the rules of professional conduct that we have here in the province of Ontario and really took a deep dive.
Yeah. So you were one of the first people to take the deep dive. You've been experimenting very heavily since 2022. How has your practice and your law firm changed with regards to AI between 2022 and the end of 2025?
We were all in. We were working with, and I know you were working with some companies in Seattle. We were developing document production tools and document management tools. For family law, we often prepare disclosure briefs that include financial statements and related documents, and we index it for the court. And we were getting AI to generate those in minutes, where before it would take several hours. So we're seeing a lot of efficiencies, but a lot of resistance too.
Okay, talk to me about the resistance. Where's that coming from?
Well, I was all in, right? And so I would do the presentations to my team when we did meet in person. We would meet quarterly or annually and sing the praises. And, a handful of my law clerks really got into it. They appreciated how much time they were going to save. I'd say almost all my lawyers were hesitant. And
Really?
It's those one or two cases that we see that embarrasses lawyers, hallucinating cases, improperly drafted factums that really wipes out their reputations for all the wrong reasons. So they were super nervous about making mistakes. Lawyers are nervous about making mistakes in the first place. Like, just to get a lawyer to come on a podcast or a video, they don't want to screw it up, right? So You can imagine looking at AI to file court documents that would be amplified. In addition, Billy, there's also the risk of job loss, right? They thought, am I going to get replaced? So that was probably a big resistance that we hit. And you and I have talked about this. It's not much different than cloud computing. All the arguments we hear today and over the last few years, we heard 10 years ago when we moved to the cloud. It's not secure. Where's my data going to be? I don't want to let go of the files. I don't want the files to leave my office. Some lawyers just cannot let go of the paper, right? We all know people like that. But the same arguments, they were just applying it to this new technology called AI.
Absolutely. So, how, let's just break it down. Marketing, I think, was the first area of the firm where AI came in and was used and widely adopted. And I don't know about you. My marketing team is wildly creative, and they kind of immediately got it and embraced it. Was that true for you as well?
It was fun. I asked for my marketing team a list of top 10. They gave me a whole list of it. It's
Okay, so
endless.
tell me now, what is your marketing team doing with regards to AI?
Oh, we had so much fun early on with the avatars, right? They would create a digital avatar. I would speak in Chinese and French
Mm-hmm.
and all these languages I didn't know. It was just great. You could still, it was still a bit corny, right? You could still see it wasn't perfect, but we know it's going to be perfect one day. And generate a script, put it in my avatar, and a video shows up on whatever topic I want. 5, 10 years ago, that would be a teleprompter with lighting and cameras, and then we'd spend a day editing the video, and now it's instant. It's incredible. So some of the things my team likes, options and hashtags for social media. They make it SEO enhanced. They know what AI search results look for, and they tailor it. Editing long video clips, they use a program called Wizard and a bunch of other programs. So when we do a program similar to this, they can edit it. They can bring clips, put it on social media. You're big on TikTok, just fire it out there. We plan our event calendar and marketing calendar for the entire year now, where usually it'd be month by month or even sometimes week by week. Something as simple as conflict checks for holidays, right? There's so many different holidays with all the various religions. We don't want, I made a mistake of scheduling a conference on a Jewish holiday. I'm not Jewish. I didn't know it was a Jewish holiday, but it was a big deal. And so we had to so just getting those conflicts out, uh, video scripts, outlines for books, webinars, the list, Billy, is endless. It's incredible what it can do for marketing.
Yeah, I agree. That was the easiest and earliest adoption.
How are you using it for marketing?
I mean, we the next level, or the newest level that we're embracing is agents,
Yeah,
where I can record a video on TikTok and then programmed a little shortcut on my phone to send it to a certain spot. And then it sets off a series of actions like, transcribing it, reposting it, creating new captions, creating blogs, all with an agent that just does it.
right. Well, I think we only had 1 or 2 people on my marketing team came out. We're up to 4 now, just because we have
Mhm.
that much more content to manage and get out because we can produce so much more content. And
Right?
I really like the chat bots you can put on your website. So just interact with your clients seamlessly after hours. It could be 2 o'clock in the morning and they're having a regular conversation and engaging these people.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's pretty incredible. The one that we're currently using is through the AI intake that we're using as well. And it's just incredible. Like, it's just so far beyond the kind of enhanced chatbot tree,
Yeah.
to actually being conversational and responsive.
You can populate an intake form. You could set it up to schedule an appointment, a consultation. It's incredible.
Yes, it's incredible. It's incredible. The one that I'm using is actually promoting individual lawyers when I want it to.
I love it.
It's just so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's move over to operations. How are you using it operationally in the delivery of legal service, either by lawyers or by your law clerks, which we normally call paralegals or case managers?
Right. Well, obviously intake's a big part of it. We use AI also to monitor trust and AR whip balances. We get notifications. Calendars are big ones as well, right? Scheduling, we have 3 or 4 professionals and you need to find a date. Traditionally, it'd take you 20 minutes, right, to find a date that works for
Yeah.
everybody. AI can figure it out now.
Tool do you use for that?
Oh, I'd have to ask. I don't know.
Okay.
Somebody, I don't know. I hit the button and it works. I'll find out for you. What are you using for your calendar?
We're not. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay, I'll get it to you.
Sounds great.
The document production, we use a program in Ontario called Divorce Mate. I'm not sure if you have something similar in Scottsdale or in Arizona. And they have, they've got what they call AI tools. I don't think it's quite there yet. We're seeing
Mhm,
a lot of software companies offer AI features. And in my view, it's a lot of white noise.
mhm.
You could spend thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars on software, depending on how big your firm is. And I don't think it's there yet where I'm prepared to make a commitment to one software provider. So many new options coming out. Seems like there's a new player every day in the field. There's a program, I think you might have referred it to me. It monitors the docketing time in the background, which is really neat. And it recaptures dockets that your team have lost just by keeping track of their computer screen. So some of the lawyers in our think tank, I think, have captured 10 or 15% of their time that they didn't realize they were not billing.
Yeah.
So if you think about the value to the firm of that 10 or 15%, depending on the size of your firm, you could be in the hundreds of
Mm,
thousands or even millions of dollars.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Automatic time tracking is pretty incredible.
What are you doing on the production side, Billy?
Well, so we recently turned on Clio Manage AI. Have you done that?
We have Clio. I don't know if we're doing it. Do you like the Manage AI?
I do. I do. It's good. But the other thing that has required is us to use Clio a lot differently than we were using it. So in order to fully take advantage of the AI, we really needed to get all of our data and workflow into Clio's ecosystem. And we hadn't been using Clio that way.
Right.
So it's a multi-step process in order to take full advantage of the AI, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to be able to go in and converse with a chat bot about specific files or a specific case.
Yeah. Or even our Slack channel. We have a private Slack channel just for internal communication. It has an AI feature
Hmm.
that can track down, summarize whatever the issues are, which is kind of neat.
Hmm.
So
I really like.
if we have lawyers sharing case law or precedents or ideas, rather than scrolling through it, it just will summarize all the chats that had occurred over the last 2 or 3 years and provide a succinct summary.
So can you go into Slack and type, what's the case law on XYZ issue?
Yeah, and they'll pick up the chat from the lawyers discussing it. It's a pretty good tool.
Well, so I think part of what we're talking about is so important because AI is being built into tools that we're already using.
That's right.
And figuring out how to use that effectively is pretty crucial. So we can do that without spending any more money, but it's a steep learning curve.
Yeah. And then people don't like change, right? They've got their own way of doing things, their own pattern. So you got to really invest a lot in training and innovation, and you got to get people to buy into it.
That's I want to talk about that. How are you handling change management and training and getting people on board?
It's tough right now. We're doing test runs. So I think we're up to 25 lawyers. So we'll take 3 or 4 lawyers through a test run of product and get their feedback. And we may test it against other products before we roll it out because we're going to be buying a license for all those chairs. And we want to make
Hmm.
sure we get it right. We don't want to invest in the training just to realize there's a new product that's better that just came out, or we want to switch it because of pricing. Oftentimes they get you hooked in and then they increase the prices on you too, right?
I
And
keep
then
hearing this. So who is doing this? Because I haven't experienced it, but I keep hearing it.
it's notorious in Ontario with the real estate lawyers who have a specific
Oh,
software they use. I think they got bought out by, who bought them out? Diane Durham, I think. And then their fees increased by like 200% the following year.
wow.
But that was the only game in town. So this is why you want to. And I found that even with my accounting software, we've been using certain programs and the prices went up significantly. And for a big or a mid-sized firm or even a small firm to switch your accounting data over to a new program, it's a huge migration. Now you're paying a company to bring your data over. You want to make sure it's correct. And it's a bit of a nightmare, really. So they get you
For
locked
sure.
in and they know it's difficult to change. And then they increase the pricing.
Yeah. So a lot of shady stuff happening for sure.
Not necessarily shady. We're in a market too, right? And it's super competitive. Everybody's trying to get one up. And it seems as soon as I remember what was it? We were using DocuSign right out of the pandemic because we needed to sign documents electronically. And the price jumped significantly on us. And they wanted us to prepay the next year's contract, like cut them a check for 25 grand just to get documents signed. I think this is crazy, right? And so we moved over to Adobe Sign or whatever, but you got a good product and you're the lead industry leader, then they start charging a premium and then you got to think, okay, this is providing value to my client. During the pandemic, we're in lockdown. We couldn't see our clients, so we didn't really have many options, right? We had to go with what was working at the time. But I think
Hmm.
right now we're seeing the market change and there's lots more options open in terms of AI.
Absolutely. So you said in terms of your testing and adoption, you're deploying a group of like, let's say, three lawyers at a time to test any given product. Do you
Senior
allow
lawyers, junior lawyers get their feedback and figure if there's any bugs or anything that we need to get sorted before we adopt it.
How do you identify who's going to be a good tester?
Usually the managing lawyer and our managing clerk will identify people.
Hmm.
So we'll pick certainly some A players who will be quickly identifying mistakes. And then we might pick at a couple of our weaker team members to see how they adapt to it and get their
Hmm.
feedback. Weaker in
And
the
then
sense that they may not be as experienced or as efficient in their workflow.
and then when you go to adopt a certain technology, how do you go about introducing that and training on it? How much time do you give people to kind of get their head around it?
All right. We try to get as much buy-in as we can. So we don't just come in the door and say, this is what we're doing tomorrow. Uh, we'll sort of warm up the crowd, so to speak, in staff meetings a couple months ahead of time. Then we'll usually the software provider will bring in trainers from their company to introduce the product. And then we'll have full on training sessions that could be, 1 or 2 hours a day for 2, 3 weeks.
Wow, every day.
No, like maybe 2 days a week or not each day, but a training session for 2, 3 hours. And then the following week, they'll have any questions and follow up and then some additional training.
Do
What are you
you?
doing for training?
Well, so our big change most recently has been to use Clio differently, get all of our documents out of box and into Clio and start managing our cases out of Clio, which we had not been doing. So that is a a huge change in workflow for my team, even though Clio's not new. So
Well, you're a
even
huge Clio fan. You're always talking at the Clio conferences. And
I do love the conference,
so
but
you
we
should, you're an early adopter, right? So,
so that's the thing. We've been using this software since 2012, I think. And when their new features would roll out for documents or for workflows or whatever like that, we were already using something else that was maybe better at that.
right. Yeah.
And so we're really primarily using Clio for time tracking and billing, which it's exceptional at. But now we've decided we want to use all of the AI features, which means we have to use all of their features. So that's been a big learning curve. We have weekly town halls, we have designated trainers. We're making a lot of videos. We have a designated Slack channel for questions and answers. That's how we're doing it. But I know it's been disruptive.
Yeah. And it's good to it's good to record all those and add them to your library because new team members are going to have to go through it all over again, right?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. Do you think that our model is going to have to change in terms of the billable hour?
Yeah, I struggled with this one early on, trying to think, how do we make this work? So if I had a financial statement that may take us 3 hours or a conference brief, and now I can do it in 6 minutes, can't charge 3 hours. So maybe you switch it over to block fee. You're going to pay me X number of dollars to do this document, however quickly I can do it. Yeah, so that's one idea. But then it gets complicated because a lot of my staff are incentivized based on performance. So
Right.
how do I divide that block fee amongst the responsible lawyer and the supporting law clerk or paralegals, right? And what's that formula going to look like? Then you need to update your retainer agreements. You need to disclose it to the client, what you're doing and what AI products you're using, and the safeguards. So that was sort of our initial approach. I know you've been a fan of block fees. I'm a little bit concerned initially by being upside down on block fees. It sounds great at the beginning, but sometimes it turns out to be more work. So now I'm thinking we're going to have the same footprint physically, but we're just going to be able to double our staff because of being able to work remotely. We're more efficient. We can take on more clients. We're going to be, and so instead of charging the 3 hours for that financial statement, we charge the time that it takes, but we just do more of them. So it improves access to justice. Our clients are happier because their legal budget goes further and
Mhm.
we can turn it around much quicker.
Mhm.
So where it might take, a week or two, depending on when we get the supporting documents to produce that financial statement, as soon as the documents come in, we can almost do it instantly. So I find the delivery of legal services is becoming much more efficient as well. What are you seeing at your end?
I really like the idea of going to flat fees. We all like the idea, let's be real. Everybody likes the idea of flat
Right.
fees. The execution of flat fees is very difficult.
You
So
were an early adopter of flat fees. I remember like 10 years
failed
ago, right?
failed experiments. Uh but I'm now trying some flat fees that I'm really excited about that are, I think, better executed. I've been working with contractors, and contractors give you a bid. And so that's kind of what I've been
Your
doing. I
your
meet
kitchen's going to be 25 grand or whatever.
and here's what's included. And if we find termites, that's not included. And if you change your fixtures, that's not included. And so I've been doing consultations and saying, okay, here's our plan. This is our plan of execution. Here's our assumptions. I can do that for this price. These are the milestones where this fee is
Mhm.
earned, and nothing outside of these assumptions are included for this price.
Right.
So we'll see how it works.
Good luck.
Thank you. We all need it, right? It's
You
not
know,
easy.
the billable hour in the legal profession, that's, that's going to be, I can certainly see AI turning it around, but I don't think it's going to eliminate it. Especially if you're doing litigation or work that's very difficult to predict, right? If the other side of my case is an unhappy spouse, it's hard for me to estimate what it's going to take to bring that to a resolution.
Absolutely. No, you're entirely right. And you're also correct that the model doesn't have to change. The billable hour model still works. There's still available work. You just have to do maybe twice as many cases to get to the same number of hours, which then, is a huge marketing challenge.
Yeah. And a lot of
Okay.
lawyers do some flat fees. Like I think most of them do flat fees for a simple divorce, if there is such a thing. But if there is such a thing, it's easy, right? We know what's required.
Mhm.
And if somebody raises an issue, it's no longer a simple divorce. You're going to pay our hourly
Exactly.
rate.
Tell me, what is your view on law clerks? Do you think their role is going to change? Do you think the ratio of law clerks to lawyers will change?
No, our approach in Canada is quite different than a lot of the American lawyers I know. I know you sometimes refer to law clerks as paralegals down there.
Mhm.
My view is the more the lawyer can delegate, the more money that lawyer is going to make.
Mhm.
And because you're just going to be doing high end legal work, you're not preparing documents. You may take care of some offers to settle and review pleadings, but I'm a big fan of law clerks. A lot of law clerks I work with are smarter than most lawyers that I know, and
Wow.
they know the nuances of getting documents filed. They know practice directions. They know what specific jurisdictions, how they like to receive their information or page limits or whatever it is. Uh, so, lawyers could figure that out and do it, but it's going to slow us down. It's going to
Mhm.
grind us to a halt. My view is delegate as much as you can to a good law clerk. You're going to make more money. Your clients are going to be happier because they're not paying your rate. You're going to deliver legal services at a lower cost. So
Mhm.
I'm a big fan of it. I don't think law clerks are going to go anywhere. I've read, it's going to wipe out the industry. Lawyers are going to get wiped out. I don't think so. Not if you look at some of the changes they did just recently to ChatGPT, right? They've changed the rules and policies. It cannot provide tailored legal advice or tailored pleadings. It has to be educational only. So that really protects, the lawyer's job in terms of giving that advice, applying the law to the facts, and then seeing what kind of outcomes you can generate for your clients.
Absolutely. And then the other thing that I'm reminded of is, divorce lawyers get divorced and they hire somebody to represent them.
Right.
So,
For a reason.
exactly. It's not because you can't, it's not because you don't know enough. It's because having a lawyer is about more than do I have access to information? It's about much more than that. It's about having a trusted advisor. It's about having
Yeah.
a different perspective. It's about having a guide. And, you're not going to be able to do that on.
Blend that in with some objectivity and some experience of what's happened before. And yeah, that can't be replicated. What's your
No.
take on law clerks, Billy?
I don't know. I mean, a lot of what my paralegals, I'll call the paralegals, currently spend their time on are things that I think AI can do faster and better. And I really don't like billing clients for putting together disclosure statements or redacting documents. I don't want my clients to see it on their invoices. And right now that's billable time. So I think that goes away. And then the question is what becomes of them? And I would like to see them become case managers, people who are proactively moving the case forward, people who really invest in the relationship between the client. And so we're going to have a paralegal retreat very soon that is really surrounding mindset.
Yeah, I agree. In terms of client management, I think clerks are great. They're going to listen to the client talk about pots and pans and minor access disputes. Lawyers don't need to be talking about it. Some lawyers will, but it's not an effective use of our time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So, what I'm hearing is that you are an early adopter. You have used lots of tools. You'll continue to use lots of tools, but it hasn't made a big impact on your business model.
The model, no. Efficiencies, yes. The amount of clients we can service, yes. Block fees, I still haven't cracked that nut yet. We've certainly thought about it. And what we're seeing is, the tools are just getting better, right? Um, Day by day. So I'm excited about where this can go.
Has it made an impact on profitability at all?
I would say we're more profitable just because we can do a higher volume of cases. How about you?
I don't think so far it's made an impact on profitability for my firm so far.
Okay.
But I would like to know, how are you getting twice as many clients? Or maybe we're not there right now, but maybe we're a third more than you needed before. How are you doing that?
Well, I'm saying the capacity is going to be twice as many. It doesn't necessarily we're at twice as many, but that takes us back to where we started, Billy, marketing.
Mhm.
Look at how much more we can get for nothing, literally zero. Costs us
Right.
nothing to produce a blog or to talk or do a video based on the blog. You put it through your funnel with the widgets. It goes through all the social media. It's YouTube. It's all the programs that you like, Instagram, TikTok, and it's free.
Yeah.
So your audience is bigger.
Mhm.
I think it also levels the playing field. Now I'm going to date myself a little bit. Back in the old days, when we used to have paper, there was something called Yellow Pages. I don't know if you
Mm,
know about that. A
I
little
do.
phone book
I grew up with yellow pages.
that shows up at your door. And in the day, your ads were based on how much you could spend. So you might get a little black corner ad, or you might get a full color page. The super big successful firms or personal injury firms would get multi-page color ads. And that would correspond to more clients because that's the way the phone book worked. And then in around 2005, 2006, a little company came around called Google. I remember talking to my Yellow Page rep, and I said, well, what about this Google thing? It was a white elephant in the corner. No, don't worry. We'll put a little banner on our Yellow Page homepage, right? And that will be our digital ads. And they had all the stats about how many hits they're getting and this and that. The Yellow Pages was wiped out 2 years later. They're gone. And so at that time in the profession, that leveled everybody off. And then we started with Google pay per click, and then people would spend more money on paid advertising with Google. So we're seeing the same pattern. The big firms, the bigger spenders, were getting a bigger chunk of the market. But what I think we're slowly starting to see is AI is going to start wiping out Google. And if you go to Google now, some of their search results shows the AI generated search at the top of the page. Nobody's going down to those blue links that people are paying for.
Oh,
So we're seeing a huge shift in the market. And what this does, Billy, it levels the playing field off. So solo and small practitioners can now play on an even level field with the big firms downtown spending money hand over fist. All they need is an iPhone and something to talk about, and they can get across social media and probably be more effective than a lot of these marketing companies are for the big firms. So I think, we're seeing a real leveling of the playing field in terms of delivery of legal services. And I think that takes some of the prestige off of working at these bigger firms, right?
hmm.
That's a big part of our legal culture is going downtown, working in a big office building, with a few hundred lawyers in one of the nicest towers in town. Now nobody cares. They don't even want to go downtown. They want to work from their cottage or their boat or their backyard and or their greenhouse. And don't get me wrong. There's still people who want that lifestyle. The suits kind of lifestyle. But I think we're starting to see a change in the market. What are you seeing, Billy?
That's a really interesting perspective. And I wonder, what it means for lawyers like us that have firms that we want to attract talent and we want to keep people. I feel like the playing field is leveled, but I don't actually understand AI search optimization yet. And that's going to be the next thing that we have to figure out is how do we make these search engines, these LLMs recognize us? How do we know how to do that with Google. I'm not entirely sure that we know how to do that with AI.
Ask AI. Say optimize this for AI search, and it will redraft your material based on what it's looking for.
Interesting. And is that how it's working? Bots crawl it for search?
I'm not sure the actual nature, but I know if you do write good content, a lot of it goes down to content. Um, you've got a good answer.
Mhm.
There's a good chance AI is going to pick up on it and push you to the
Mhm.
top of the search results, even on the Google page, because
One thing.
Google's taking AI and pasting it into a result.
Right, so they're obviously crawling. Google AI is crawling, but I have heard that the LLMs really like kind of traditional lawyer accolades, and we haven't focused on that at all. We at Modern Law, we're kind of like anti big law, we do everything different. That entire culture has been rejected. And so we haven't really focused on like making sure that we're members of the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers and these other types of like
Best
old
rated, three
school.
best rated.
Yeah, like we haven't done that. And I've heard that the LLMs really like that. So we may have to lean into this old school like culture that we've rejected.
You still have Avril down there? Is that a thing?
I don't know. It got bought by internet brands, and I think it went there to die.
Yeah. Well, you're exactly right. These listings are important, and you want to get on them and find them, and keep them current. You want to make sure your addresses, phone numbers, firm names, everything lines up. They see a deviation in that, then I think your rankings are going to drop.
It's an interesting world. So, okay, what is some advice that you have for a firm that is they haven't even looked at AI, but they're thinking, "Oh no, I might need to." Where do they start?
Spend the $20 or whatever it costs to get the most recent version of ChatGPT on your phone and just start playing around with it. Don't be scared. Don't put any personal information. Certainly don't put any client data information in there. You could even use hypothetical fact scenarios similar to what you're trying to figure out and just play around with it. And if you don't know what prompts to ask AI, what prompts do I ask for it to get this question solved? That I think is probably one of the most powerful tools out there. I have it on my phone.
You
And
mean
it's,
ChatGPT?
yeah, for the price, you can't beat it.
I have to tell you something. I'm so, so proud of myself. I did this thing last week. I needed to get 450 custom fields into Clio Manage. And the plan was to, take somebody off of their job and have them do it. But ChatGPT and I together, we figured out how to go into Clio's developer portal and write a script and run the script to create 450 custom fields in Clio Manage. I have never been so proud of myself. I was so excited.
It is super powerful. I find it's great for finding blind spots. So if you're making an argument, you ask it, what's the blind spot? What am I missing? What's the judge going to ask me? What's the other lawyer going to argue? And you can identify blind spots. It's very good at strategy, very good at pattern recognition. So there's lots of really creative ways you can play around with it. So my advice for somebody who hasn't done it yet, that's a that's your gateway drug. That's going to get you started.
I think that couldn't be like that. I wish I could like 10 times like that, because I think it's so spot on. Is like, instead of buying some tool or trying to revamp some piece of your law firm,
Mm,
just understand what it can and can't do. Just use it. Because when you understand what it can and can't do, what it's bad at, because it's bad at certain things. And
right.
that thing changes, right? It gets better at the thing that it was once bad at, but it's still not great at everything. But when you understand its limitations, you're not going to be as concerned about making ethical violations because you understand it.
And it takes the fear out of it too, right? A lot of practitioners, it's scary, right? It's a new way of doing things. Young kids coming out of law school, they're all into it. They've been playing around with this thing for 3 years, and
Mhm.
they're very tuned into how it works.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Any other words of wisdom for people right now in this crazy time?
Make a start. Don't be scared. Play around with it. It's not going to replace you, but you might get replaced by somebody using AI. That seems to be a common theme. So you want to get ahead of the game. That these products and software and AI tools that Billy and I have been talking about today have been out for 2, 3 years, and they're only going to get better. Like, even though Billy and I are saying how amazing it is, it's just going to get better and better. So make a start, don't delay, and certainly reach out to Billy or any colleagues who are starting using, pick their brains and get some ideas.
Russell Alexander, thank you so much for coming on the show. I can't wait till we get to talk again soon.
Thank you, Billy. Have a great day.
Bye. Thanks for joining me on Law Labs. If today's episode gave you something to think about or something to act on, I'd love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with someone building the future of law. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep evolving, and I'll see you back in the lab.